I think it's just on that topic now, right?
Right.
So I wanted to make sure we covered and talked a little about if you're on an interview and you are being either intimidated or bullied, for lack of a better word, or perhaps feel disrespected or feel ignored or disregarded in any way, or how you would react. So, for example, and I'll just give that, you're going on an interview and the interviewer is a little bit dismissive of you and stares you down and basically start asking you questions very detached form. And I'm sure some of you at some point in your careers, you have done interviews and you're preparing for the next one, whether soon or in a few years, how you have reacted or how you would prepare for that. Can you give me an example, for example, where you have felt demeaned or perhaps a little bit disregarded, or you thought, oh my goodness, they're interviewing now, but it's very clear I'm not their favorite candidate?
Yeah, when Dr. Mullins interviewed me, San Diego, I came prepared, but he was like my minor for this in statistics, right? He was pressing me on this issue of endogeneity, right? And I came with a preconceived notion of endogeneity, but he wanted a different explanation of endogeneity. So I realized that there was a miscommunication. So after the interview, I was like, oh, I blew it. I'm done. Yeah. So that was one example where, so I just tried to keep my cool and just try to explain my point.
Yeah.
Even though there was a disagreement, so, yeah.
Did you feel though, so probably that was about the what, but I'm talking about the how. And to have this resulted in a success, I mean, you're here now, means that somewhere along the line, you were not dismissed.
Yeah.
But did you feel dismissed? I guess not. You felt, because what you're expressing now is that you felt that the topic, the what, didn't really click. But it's not about the how.
Okay.
And that's important, because that's exactly what we're saying. Sometimes you feel that the content of what you're saying is not, I blew it, exactly.
Yeah.
But then the interviewer is really looking for other things. And
Yes.
these are sometimes the more important things.
Yeah.
In a coaching situation, because I'm very, you're recruiting for your team, okay? You look for the core athlete who has the potential. You don't look for the skills. The skills you can teach.
Okay.
You can teach the skill. You look for attitude, and you look for basis. You look for the content, the athleticism. And that's I bring, and I always think about that when I'm interviewing people for whatever level. I look at the attitude, receptivity, teachability, and potential in terms of basis. So think about this, and I think it's easy to concretely think about it in terms of athleticism. Because you never end. I mean, you still need to go to the training, you still need to train, etc. That's for keeping your athleticism. Now you need to learn the skills. And the skills are ever changing. The topics change, right? We have CER was not 10 years ago, we didn't even coin that term. Pharmacoeconomics is 30 years old, right? So, any other example?
I'd say excellent, though. Excellent illustration.
I just wanted to answer Dr. Shaya's how question. How do you react to a dismissive interviewer?
Can I stop you just for a second? Sure. I don't know if you noticed what Marvin just did when he started speaking, but I did.
What?
Use those visual cues during an interview.
Yeah.
And what does that cue tell you?
I'm too soft.
What does it tell you?
Just too soft.
What does it tell you?
Speak louder.
What does it tell you?
Confidence.
I can't hear you still.
I know. It's like we need you to speak up.
To be confident.
Okay, I'm going to give you one last chance, and then I'm going to make you shout if you don't get it right this time.
To be confident. And to speak louder.
Honestly, if I took a vote now, I would hope that the majority would say she needs to shout. You need to shout.
Yes.
No, let me just say this. Let me just say this, because this is very important. There has to be practice, and it has to come from your diaphragm. I'm only speaking from my diaphragm because I don't have a voice. So, but that has to be practice. So when you're in that mirror and you're reading those affirmations, I am courageous. I fear nothing or no one. I am the presence and the power of love. Love is the most powerful force on earth. I can do all things with love that supports and strengthens me. Get in the mirror and practice, people. By the time you get to the interview, you won't have to work at it. So.
Should I answer?
Yes, you were going to make it.
So to answer the how question, I think the trick is to stay calm and consistent and not really listen to the tone and the dismissiveness, but to really listen to the content of the question so that you won't get distracted by that person's dismissive sort of nature. I think that sort of works.
I also think the dismissiveness is a strategy, right?
Oh, yes.
You know, because we want to see how this guy reacts. I mean,
Yeah.
you see, like, you know, I mean, does he fit into a team? You know, you see very arrogant, you see very, you know, angry, you know, that kind of thing. So, you know, I think that dismissiveness is a strategy or a ploy, you know, to see the guy's
Right.
overall attitude.
It actually
right?
happens also on the
Exactly.
team.
Yes, that's what
It happens on the team.
I
And let me
have-
just say this
wait,
before I
have one
forget.
question for Janani, I'm sorry. Did you think that Justin was too loud just then?
No,
Are you sure?
I didn't think so.
I didn't think so either.
Yeah.
I would love to hear you sound at that level someday.
So, I want to say this, and I don't want to forget before we go on a break, and then we're going to come back and video record you all. But one of the major issues that we discussed in the meeting, in terms of the leaders, setting up a safe environment is one of the key elements to making this team work. I need to say that again. Setting up a safe environment is what's going to set this team up for success. And what that ultimately means is that nobody on the team disrespects another person in any way, shape, or form. And that's a period. And if there's any conflict, there's a proper channel that you must go through. But don't engage people. Don't allow them to reel you in. Once they start disrespecting you, you better speak up. And first tell them, you're being disrespectful. You know, you're being disrespectful. And if you can't speak to them directly, then you send something, a letter or something to your superior. But if you just continue to allow it to happen, number one, shame on you. And shame on the entire team if they watch somebody on this team disrespect somebody else and don't say anything. I'm going to leave it there. Any other questions?
5-minute break? Five,
Yeah.
but literally 5-minute break. Do you want to talk a little bit more about this concept of safe environment? Do you want to have it as an open discussion with companies?
Yeah.
Or? Okay.
Yes, I think so.
Okay.
We started to discuss also the context in which people operate. So, yes, we discussed your individual settings and your mindset and how you go into an interview and how you resist a bully and how you preempt a bully, etc. But we wanted to bring it back to the team and actually what is the context in which you operate and how that can enhance your personal development, professional development, or inhibit it. So to the extent that we can, we have discussed. Okay, so to the extent.
Okay. No. I don't want to get your face.
So to the extent that we can, we are trying to provide to the best we can what, for lack of a better word, I would call a safe environment. So safe doesn't mean cushy and easy and where it is you become lethargic and apathetic, etc., because that can flip the other side. But there is a minimum set that we like to keep where you are encouraged and incentivized enough, but at the same time where you feel safe to grow and to thrive. And it's not only what we provide, we also look very carefully at all of you and make sure that the dynamics are working right. And that's what we're hoping at the end of this workshop, thank you, Marvin, that you would be even better equipped to be conscious of these interactions so that you all work to make it a safer environment. And we're not talking about booby traps in the corridors and, so we're talking, and these are easy to manage actually, believe it or not. But what we are talking about is where you are not feeling threatened, where you can speak up, not in a confrontational way, of course, but where you have acquired enough skills to be able to get and speak your mind and ask the questions, not be concerned about asking a question and perhaps sounding a little bit short or not well informed, etc. And I want to throw back the question to you. What do you think would be some of the main issues that you're tripping over? So what are some of the main issues that are making it not as safe an environment as you would like? I don't want to use the word toxic. I don't think we have a toxic environment, but on some days perhaps, and I'm not talking about where you're feeling overwhelmed and over your head and you think people are not pulling their weight on your team. These are things that are managed. But the fundamental things that perhaps you think in general would enhance safety, the safety of an environment. What do you look for on your next job? What do you consider a safe environment?
I would say a good presentation of what the expectations are between the subordinate and the boss, in this faculty and student.
Mm-hmm.
Some of us are lead RAs on our projects, and as lead RAs we have to deliver. But at the same time, we're not the main person on the project in terms of the funding or making decisions, and we know that faculty are busy. So there's this gray area where you have to take a decision, but that's an important decision, and you don't know how the faculty would react to your decision, even though you have to make it. So
That's a good question. What was Dr. Shai's question?
Dr. Shah's question was how we can create a safe environment.
Do you think that you answered that question?
Not necessarily.
Okay.
Were you
That's
getting
weird.
to another answer? Were you getting some?
I think it is about being conscious. Some people are very good listeners. And some people do what politicians do, which is they allow the person to ask a question so they can talk about how they're going to cut the deficit. Right?
Right.
I understand why politicians do what they do, and it seems to work in politics. I don't think it always works in interviews. Because in interviews, it sometimes does seem that you're not a good listener.
But I don't mean to cut you off, but I just want to, getting back to your point, and I just want to make sure that I understand what you were saying. The question then becomes, are you comfortable enough to make decisions for Dr. Shire? Are you comfortable enough to tell Dr. Shire,
Yes.
this is wrong?
I'm comfortable.
Okay.
And
that's
So that's where the
what I'd like to
safety. So
discuss.
that's where the safety
Yes,
comes
that's what I would
in.
like to
So
discuss.
that's
Yes.
my point is, what Marvin said is what you should have said. A safe environment is one in which I am empowered to make decisions, that I am comfortable making those decisions, that I feel comfortable telling somebody if I disagree with the decision. It's also an environment in which, the rest of the team feels comfortable letting you know when you need to step up.
How do you recognize the elements of toxicity in an environment? So where do you know that it's starting to become polluted, and how do you nip it at the bud?
I think that a more obvious one is if you recognize that cliques or camps start to show or they're inherent and synergy is as evident as you'd like to be. I think that's a very clear sign of impending problems and possible lack of safety. That was actually what I was going to bring up next. A safe environment is one where obviously cliques are going to happen just based on interest, but hopefully you feel that synergy or you know that they're supporting.
So teams are different from cliques.
Yeah.
Teams are natural. I mean, we're
Right.
talking
Right.
about teams.
No,
We're here
but
in this room.
right.
We're not a clique here.
And
We are a
no.
team.
But,
Okay.
And I wanted to say that this department here is the opposite of that.
But
It is
let me
it's
just-
very good.
And I don't mean to cut you off, but I just wanted to clarify to understand what you were saying. Because it may not be the case here, but in some environments, you do have cliques.
Mhm.
And for those of you that don't know what that is, that's when you have a group of people that just hang out together and forget everybody else. And the whole concept is make sure that that doesn't happen here. The same way that you treat the people that you're normally dealing with, you're going to treat everybody else the same way. That way, you won't have people feeling like, oh, they're with the in crowd. No, none of that's going to happen with this team. You're all in on the team equally.